everyone. So this is our writing expressions lesson, but I wanted to show you my Throwback Thursday picture because I'm showing the in-person kiddos that, and I didn't want you to miss out. So I told you I had another Halloween costume picture I was going to share with you. So this is me. I'm in the ladybug costume. My mom actually made that costume for me. This is my cousin Ryan. He's the white Power Ranger. And then my cousin Lauren, who's Jasmine. And so we're all at my grandma's house getting ready to go trick-or-treating. So fun stuff. I'm reading off extra math in person today in class. But if you want to know, please just shoot me an email and I will happily tell you how many more you have to do for the week. Okay, just let me know. All right, let's jump into this. So we are learning how to write expressions. Make sure that you have your digital notebook open to that slide so you can take some notes here. Okay, I think you're gonna have to like fill in the table as we go, I believe is how I have it set up. So feel free to pause the video as we go to type in your notes as needed. Okay, but very important to have those notes in there. All right. So we're going to take those operation words that we learned on Monday and we're going to apply them here. So right now we have a bunch of phrases written out for us. We need to write the algebraic expression for those. So let's think about our words. So I know notice on this first one we have the sum of 7 and a number. I'll get to the 7 and a number here in a second, but sum, if you need to go back and look at your list from that first page in our notebook for those words, feel free. But I know that sum means addition, okay? And if it helps you to write out the symbols above it, you can. That's up to you. But I know sum means addition, so I'm going to be adding. So what am I going to be adding? Well, let's read the rest of the phrase. We have 7 and a number. Well, remember how we talked about variables represent those unknown numbers? So that's what a number is saying. So we can pick whatever variable we want. It doesn't matter. You can pick anything you want. If you want to always use X, or some people like to use their first letter of their name or something like that. I would just encourage you not to use like O or L because they look like ones and zeros. But other than that, use whatever you want. And we're just going to show 7 plus whatever that number is. I'm going to use n this time. Okay, so 7 plus n is showing the sum of 7 and a number. That's what that expression would be for that phrase. Okay, let's try another one. So we have 4 less than y. So less than are our key words here. And if you think back to our words, that means subtraction. But be really careful with subtraction because the order does matter. Not with addition, but with subtraction and division, it does. And so you have to be very careful of what you're thinking about. So we're saying 4 less than y. So let me give you a comparison for a second. Let's pretend that y is representing like age. Okay, so like let's just pretend, this is just totally made up. Let's pretend that I'm saying Miss Peoples is 4 years less than me. Well, how would you solve that problem? Would you do 4 minus my age? Or would you do my age minus 4? Well, you would do my age minus 4. So what I'm getting at is we want it to say y minus 4 because you're saying 4 less than y. Had it just said 4 minus y, then we could have written it 4 minus y. But because we're talking about less than, that should cue you that you actually need to flip it. Same with fewer than, same concept with that. So you have to flip the order because you're comparing to that second number. A little tricky on that one. All right, let's keep going. If you need to pause, feel free. So I've got the quotient of z and 3. So I know that quotients are signaling word here, and I remember that is division. Okay, so that means we're dividing z and 3. So you can write that 2 different ways. You can write it like this, just z divided by 3. And since it's in that order and we wrote quotient, we can keep it in that order. You can also write it as a fraction if you want, because we know that also means z divided by 3. So either one of those works. You choose how you want to write it. If you're someone typing it out, you can do slash like that. That also means the fraction. So you decide how you want to do it. If you're struggling to create that division symbol. If you go to, I believe it's format and special characters, you can search up the division symbol, but you can just use a slash if that's easier. Okay. All right, last one on this slide. So we've got 5 groups of a number. Well, groups of is signaling multiplication. Okay, we talked about how it does touch on division, but it's mainly multiplication. So we're saying 5 groups of a number. A number, again, is representing any variable at all. You choose what you want. I'm going to stick with n because I did it before. So you can write this a couple different ways. You can write it as 5n, just next to each other like that, because when it's next to each other, it means multiplication. You can use the dot if you want. What I don't want you to do is this. Okay, I don't want you to use the x because if you use the x, I don't know, are you talking about another variable or are you talking about multiplication? So please don't use the x when we're talking about multiplication. You can also use the little asterisk symbol too when you're typing, and that can be, sorry, mine got a little messy. That also works for multiplication. So you can use that, but just please don't use the x. It makes it very confusing whether you're talking about a variable or multiplication, because for this, we could have an expression that says 5 times a number times another number, and so it could be 5xn as our expression, so be careful with that. Don't use x. Okay, we're going to flip it around, and we're almost done here. We're going to flip it around, and now we have an expression, and you have to write the phrase for it. Now, there's tons of phrases that you could use because there's tons of operation words. So whenever you're writing a phrase for an expression, there will be several choices. So I might give you an example, but there are other options. Just use your operation words notes to help. So right here we have 11x, but we know that means multiplication. So you can pick any word you want. If you want to pick something different than me, go ahead, but I'm going to give you an example of mine. I'm going to use the word product just because I know that's one less familiar to us. So I'm going to say the product of, give me a second to write it, 11 and x. I could also say 11 and a number, lots of different options. That's just my quick symbol for and, by the way. If you want to write the word out, that's fine. Oops, I just realized I missed the C. Okay, so the product of 11 and x, and sorry, my handwriting's not the best. It's hard to write on this. Okay. That's one option. You could say 11 times x, you could say 11 groups of x. Any multiplication word would help you with this. The only ones you can't use are twice and double because that's specifically for 2. Okay. This next one, that fraction bar, means division. So we know the quotient. I'm going to say split this time. So I'm going to say z split by 5. Okay. Okay, or you can even say split into 5 or something like that. But you can use the word split. You can just simply say z divided by 5. You could say the quotient of z and 5. Lots of options there. Or you could say z shared equally by 5. Tons of options. Just focus on division on that one. So this next one, we've got 8 minus y, which we could just write that. But let's try practicing kind of what we looked at just a moment ago. So I'm actually going to say y, and I'm going to choose fewer than 8. So notice how I wrote it in the opposite order. It's because I'm making that comparison. So I'm taking y away from 8. Okay, so that's one way to say it. You could say y fewer than 8. You could say 8 take away y. That's another. So you got to be careful with your order, and if that's confusing you and you have to just pick a way to write it, you can go simple. That's okay, but be aware that you want to be able to read it and write the expression appropriately. So if I were to show you y fewer than 8, you should know that's 8 minus y. Okay, and if not, we'll keep practicing. So I chose that one. And again, feel free to pause as needed as you're watching this to get your notes taken care of. Last one, we have 9 plus n, which you could write that. I'm going to choose to say, 9 more than m. There's lots of options you could use. You could say the sum of 9 and n. You could say 9 added to n. Lots of options. Okay, so those are our phrases, just some of our phrases that could go with those expressions. Okay, and again, feel free to go back to anything. I know it's been a little bit of a lengthy video. Let me just talk real quick about homework. So you have a writing expressions practice posted. There's just a couple. There's a table to fill in, so part of it will have the expression there for you, and you write the phrase. Other times the phrase will be there, and you have to write the expression. Make sure you check with the answer key. On the answer key, The phrases could be different, but your expression should be the same. So you might have a few options different with the I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. With the phrases, but you should pretty much have the expression the same way, okay? For the most part. If you have questions on that, feel free to ask, but check with the answer key. Then you also have extra math to do, and then this is just if you want a little extra practice. I offer this to in-person students that if they finished early, they could work on these IXLs. This is 6th grade Y, 1, 2, or 3, and feel free to do those if you'd like. They are not homework. The only thing homework is practice and extra math. Good luck. Email if you have any questions.